welcome everyone to episode 8 of the Football for All Talks. These are a series of webinars that we are doing. Integrated Dreams, a nonprofit organization that is known for organizing the Football for All leadership program. We're doing these talks instead of our physical training this year, which had to be canceled due to the pandemic. But nonetheless, we're here having these honest conversations around sport, disability, and innovation, and reflecting a bit on things so that when we get back to our activity, our normal activity, or as normal as possible, hopefully we'll have some added insights from this period. These webinars are organized in partnership with CAFE, the Center for Access to Football in Europe. And they're being recorded and will be added to Integrated Dreams YouTube channel at a later stage. These talks also have live captions through Otter, so there is a link in the chat box to the live transcription, and it's also on the screen there on the left upper hand corner where it says live, custom live streaming service. Hi Donald, he just said hi, and Jose, the founder of the Football for All Leadership program. They just said hi in the chat box. We have a poll going throughout the conversation that we would appreciate if everyone joining could answer. I would just launch it now. Here we go. We have two questions there, whether you know someone yourself or anyone you know that would be interested in taking part in the program. And secondly, what are the things that you would like to see, in the program that you would like to see training, the objective of any training session. So we had a few options there so that we also have some feedback for hopefully 2021 when we get back to the physical training. We'll come back to the poll later on, and we'll also be open to answering any questions that anyone might have throughout the conversation, either in the chat box or in the Q&A section here on Zoom. Now, to our speakers, we are so happy to have with us kind of a little small family gathering with our participants from 2018 and 2019. We have with us Eduardo Maia, who was our sole Portuguese participant in 2018. Eduardo is a wheelchair basketball player, and he came onto the program, and through the program he applied for an internship at the Portuguese FA, where he's still working at the health and performance unit as we speak. And we just heard from him before we started that he's very busy because he's also doing scheduling for COVID tests during this time for people for athletes in competitions. So thank you, Eduardo, for your time in joining us today. We have Kieran Burns, who's class of 2019. Kieran is from Scotland. He's a power chair football player. He came on to the program also with the support of EPFA. And Donald is here today joining the call as an attendee. So hi, Donald. And Kieran launched a very successful podcast, I might say, called All About Ability podcast. Kieran will ask you some questions later on about the podcast. And thank you for joining as well. The podcast is basically a series of very honest conversations around mental and physical health and changing perceptions around disability. So highly recommend everyone to go and have a listen. And finally, we have Tom, also from class of 2018. So he and Eduardo were together in the class at the time. Tom is from England. He's a futsal English champion for under 17, under 21. Tom, correct me if I'm saying something wrong. He was one of our youngest participants, together with Sergio, I believe, in 2018. And back in the UK, as his project for the program, he decided to launch his own company, and he has an inclusive football summer camp training for children with in need of additional support. which is fantastic. He's also a casual coach at Watford FC, and he's pursuing his university studies. So very busy people here on the panel. Thank you everyone for joining. We are, as I said, we're super excited to to see you again, not in person, unfortunately, but we still see your faces. So it's very good to be able to see your faces again and have a chat. So a common theme, just to get right into it. You can introduce yourselves, and when I shoot the ball to you shortly. We just wanted to say that it's been a common theme throughout these conversations that inclusive employment is absolutely an essential part of having more disabled people represented in the community, having people living autonomous and independent lives. Um, and so I would throw the ball to you. I don't know who wants to go first, but basically, before we get into what you're doing now, I'd like to ask you, um, when you heard about the Football for All leadership program, where were you in life? What was your journey up until that point, and why did you think that this would be a good idea? The program would be interesting for you to take part. And maybe I would shoot to Eduardo just alphabetically, if you could start, and then the other guys could also chip in. Hi, Eduardo.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Eduardo, just as Joana said. So just to make a long story short, when I heard about the program, I was basically stuck. So I was doing basically nothing besides going to the basketball practices. So I wasn't doing anything useful with my life. So in that sense, the program changed my life completely, and I will be forever grateful to Jose, to Joana, and to all the other guys, because it really changed my life for the better. So that is that. I think it's a very useful program, and it depends on what you want to do. But it can kickstart you to do something that you like. You will meet a lot of different people with a lot of different disabilities. Uh, uh, and I think that one of the things that made the most impression in me was that I used to be around because I was in a hospital for a long time. I was used to being with people with disabilities around me, but it was usually physical disabilities in the sense of rehabilitation and wheelchair users. But in the program, I met a lot of people with different disabilities, people that I was not used to be around of, and it was absolutely amazing. It was an awesome experience, and I think that everyone has a lot to learn in being around different people in that sense.
No doubt. I mean, diversity is a learning experience for everyone, with the whether you have a disability or you're talking about other aspects of life. Um, Kieran, I would ask you the same. Where were you? Where have I mean, share about your journey. You can share as much as you want to. And why did you think this was a good idea?
Well, actually, I heard about it through Publisher Football. My friend Lewis went the year before, and I'd actually been encouraged to go that year, but there was elements to where I was myself that I didn't feel ready to do that, and didn't go. And then at the time, I was training to be a personal trainer, so I knew that I wanted to be involved in fitness in some way. And there was always this sort of idea through football that when I started to develop fitness and develop myself, I could see some people have issues through being, through their disabilities and through the lack of access and through the lack of employment, like you say. And I wanted to do something I knew had all these different things in my head that I wanted to do something that would make a difference in that way, but I just wasn't sure how to do it. And Donald and Willie Pettigrew, who was the chairman of the SPFA at the time, had encouraged me to apply for it. And I came up with a kind of rough idea of the areas in which I wanted to go into, but it wasn't really, there was nothing set in stone as to what I would be doing. And actually going to Portugal allowed me to see like all these different sort of perspectives and ideas. Like Eduardo says, the class was so many amazing people with different stories, and it kind of allows you to think about things differently and think about things that you maybe wouldn't have thought about before. And one night, the idea of a podcast came up, and it was something that I knew I could talk, but I didn't really feel like I had the confidence to relay that actually in a way that people would understand or relate to. So we kind of spoke about it, put it in, and I came up with the name All About Ability due to the fact that I felt like it's with disability, a lot of the times people like to emphasize the negative and tell you to focus on the things that you can't do, when in actuality there's a lot of things that we can't do. It's more to do with the fact that the world needs to sort of adjust to that, and maybe that's something we're not doing as well as we should be doing, but that was something that I wanted to try and put out there and start the podcast. And so when I came back from Portugal though, it was something that kind of, I still didn't feel like I had the confidence to do it. And throughout talking to the people from the Football for All course, kind of kept me on track and kept checking up on me, and eventually I was able to sort of go ahead with it, and the reaction has been amazing from there, and I've really been able to try have that kind of impact. And I felt like all those things I was feeling about what I wanted to do and the difference I wanted to make, it kind of all came together perfectly with the podcast, and I'm really enjoying it. So I can't recommend the course high enough, and there's so many different elements to it that allowed me to develop as a person and become more confident within myself, but also more aware of different issues that were happening outside of my own disability. So it was again, I can't recommend that high enough, and it was an experience that changed my life for sure.
Great stuff, Kieran. I want to know a little bit more of your podcast, but I'll just go to Tom first, and then we'll come back around. Tom, again, the same question. How did you hear about it? Why did you decide that, yeah, maybe I'll give it a go? You were obviously connected to football, as I said before, but as a player, as a coach, tell us a little bit more why you wanted to come to join the group.
Thank you. So I was 18 at the time, so that made me one of the youngest on the course with Sergio. When I heard about the course, I just finished at college. I was doing a football coaching course. I kind of always knew that's what I wanted to go into, but like you said about my futsal, for me growing up, I went to like mainstream school, so I always had that environment. But actually, by being part of my futsal team, which was a deaf and visually impaired team, that kind of made me realise about disabilities and people with disabilities. So about a year before I applied, I started volunteering at Watford as a volunteer at the time, where I'm now a casual coach. And and I was going into schools, after school sessions, that kind of thing, with people with a disability. And that kind of, from that experience, kind of made me want to go down the route of working with people that require additional needs. And then when I found out about this course, which was ironically from Ben, who ended up being a participant alongside me, for me being 18, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do it, because for me it was 2 weeks away from my home environment, and I've never done that before. But I wanted to learn more about people with additional needs. And by going on that course, I met other people who have similar interests to me and have similar ambitions to what they want to do, and also have different things. And I really enjoyed that experience. I think that is probably a little summary.
Good. You guys, Eduardo, you mentioned that you learned a lot from your classmates, and Tom touched a little bit on this as well. Like the fact that the class is a mix of people with different abilities. Do you have any, like, do you recollect any episode or anything that actually you thought about, since maybe Eduardo was used to being in contact with people with a physical disability, but not around anyone who's blind or has a hearing impairment, or and likewise with just Tom, you just said that. Do you guys remember any moment where you thought, I've never thought about this that way, or any story that you could tell, you could share?
I have to tell you guys that in those 2 weeks, I laughed so much. It was great because I spent so much time laughing. But I remember one time that this story is no laughing matter. I was just remembering another one. But one of the times Sergio was going very casually. He didn't use his cane in the level 1 of the hotel.
The hotel.
'Cause,
Sergio,
yeah.
just sorry to interrupt. Sergio was obviously from 2018, but he's a blind football player, and he's obviously blind. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead,
and
Eduardo.
thanks. And he wasn't using his cane, and he was walking, and I was near the staircase, and he just spoke to the air, saying, "Oh, I'm going to," I don't know if he said, "get something to drink or something." And suddenly I realized that he wasn't seeing where he was going, and he was going straight to the stairs, and I only had time to extend my arm and tell him, no, that's not the way you want to go. And if it was a bit of eye-opening for me, because being around someone that he was walking so casually, if there wasn't anyone there, he could have easily hurt himself. So, but besides that, it was great. We would laugh so much. We spent so much time laughing. It was really nice, really nice.
You guys, any other story?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I mean, I totally agree with Eduardo there, where I said it was just the 2 weeks, like I would probably describe it as one of the best experiences of my life. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, again, there's so many laughs. I mean, the group, I think there was 16 of us, and every single one of us got on so well with each other, which I thought was brilliant. The thing I'm going to bring up was with Marco, who had MS, if I'm correct. And it was, I think it was we'd been there for a week, and it was our relaxing day. And so we went out onto the boat in a town not far from Lisbon.
Cascais, yeah.
That's the one. And me and Marco were on the boat, and he decided he wanted to take a picture. So he got his phone out, and I wasn't looking. And the next thing I saw, I turned around, and he's got his phone, and he's got the phone like away from the boat, so that it's like towards the sea. And he's like shaking his hand. And the funny thing was, I went to put my hand out to go, he's gonna drop his phone. He's gonna drop his phone into the sea. and he's got a week left. He's got no one to contact if it goes into the sea. And before I know it, I'm blocking his screen. So he's trying to take a picture of, blocking the screen. I mean, it was one of those funny moments. I mean, there were so many, but that one for me stood out the most probably.
Kieran?
Yeah, I was the same. There was a lot of really amazing characters in the course that you just had such great laughs all the way through, and we all really learned something from each other, which was not something you normally get. But I think there was people that would make you laugh, and there was people that would show you different things. But one thing that stands to my mind is Lucas. There's a guy called Lucas, a wheelchair basketball player. From the first day, you could see this guy's kind of confidence come through. It was like he really, nothing fazed him. And for me, it was kind of, I always felt really awkward and really nervous public speaking, things like that. So it was something that in my head, I think it was because, throughout being a wheelchair user, like when I would go and do public speaking in any sort of scenario, I kind of went through a phase where I get put down by certain groups of people and it kind of knocked my confidence a little bit. But when I came on the course and seen the amount of people that had these disabilities, that had the confidence as well, to express themselves, it kind of showed me that I could also do that. And even the presentation that we had, I was really nervous about it, but the whole group was very supportive and very helpful and very kind of encouraging. And it definitely helped me to kind of go into it and be like, the fact I'm doing a podcast now shows you how much it helped in that aspect. And we had great laughs, but they also showed me that I was maybe using my disability as reasons not to do things that I shouldn't be. So it was really helpful that way for me.
Well, if you are a nervous public speaker, we can't tell really from your podcasts, to be honest. You even do like an episode in costume for Halloween, which was hilarious. So again, I would encourage everyone to have a look, because some of them are inspirational, but some of them are just very funny as well, and have funny moments. I wanted to ask Tom, I don't know if everyone knows, but the program is divided into 2 stages. So we have a lecture stage, which is what these guys are talking about when they're spending time here in Lisbon. And then there's the project stage that everyone develops in their own country of residence. And Tom, as I said, launched his own company. I was curious, of course, you were already coaching, Tom, and you mentioned that you had this exposure to different levels of ability. But why did you decide to create your own company, first of all? And you did it in partnership. So if you could tell us a little bit more about the process of, behind that decision, where you went back home. As a project that you have to do for the second stage of the program, you developed this idea of actually opening a company. So it's a commercial enterprise. And how did that idea come about?
The company that I'm in partnership with, JP Pro Football, my brother was a participant on one of their holiday camps in 2014, and I wasn't doing much during the summer of 2014, and so I thought they only had 2 coaches, so I thought, well, why not? Why don't I? If Daniel, my brother's on the course playing football, then why don't I go and volunteer to be a football coach and help and be a helper for them? So I got a bit of experience from working alongside the 2 head coaches there, and developed quite a good relationship with them. So the idea around why I did holiday camps was mainly because I thought at the time that was probably what I was most experienced in. Also, one thing from experience of me, obviously, where having hearing aids and having a disability, I kind of noticed that growing up, I'd never really heard of any football camps that were there for people that required additional needs. So I kind of thought that was something that I could potentially add in, and they even at the time no one was offering it really. So that's mainly where the idea came from. In terms of why I wanted it to become a company was sadly Watford lost a lot of the Premier League funding, so they kind of sadly had to stop the doing the sessions in the schools. So I did my business because I thought if I can do holiday camps, see how they go, I could potentially branch out and do different activities like going into school sessions. I mean, at the start, I didn't really think that anything else would come of it other than the holiday camps. But at the moment, I've managed to last year did a personal training course. So because I'm one of those people that likes to get different areas that are more experienced. I mean, that's what the program taught me actually. That having lots of skills can benefit you in the future. So I went and got that personal training experience, and now during COVID, especially this lockdown that we've just had in England, I'm doing a Zoom call with a guy who's got cerebral palsy, and I'm just doing exercise for him. So that's another thing that I've added to my business. And even before lockdown, since September 2019, I got into a partnership with Hemel Mencap, which is for people that come to a day. Mencap is a charity, but they basically, everybody comes in on a day-to-day basis, and they take them out and they do different experiences with them. So like one day they'll go bowling, one day they'll do like arts and crafts or something. So on a Friday, they used to come down to the local sports centre, and I used to do, through my company, used to do a session with them.
That's great, Tom. I'm glad we're catching up because we are also learning about new things that you're doing that we didn't know. That's really good to hear that even during COVID you have found a way to to still deliver some of trainings to a different audience, but still the spirit was the same. And hopefully that can, if that's what you want, then that can grow, and you can, as you said, branch out to do different things. Eduardo, Tom just mentioned that he was also motivated through the program to continue learning different things. I know you're super busy, as I mentioned before, at the FA. You're working at the Health and Performance Unit, which is just one of the key units at the moment with everything that's going on. It's been around 2 years, more or less. By this time, 2 years ago, you were still doing the training. You finished in early December. What have you had time to reflect at all throughout these 2 years at being at the FA for a little bit of time now and working at that unit, but also in different projects? Have you given it thought about, continue studying or training, doing professional training to continue developing yourself further? What have these couple of years brought you?
I would like to go to university and do something. Truth is, I'm a little bit scared about being being at work at the same time, and so it's a scary thought of having stuff to do, and after that going to university and having maybe online lectures or something like that. But that scares me a little bit. The amount of work I would have to do, that scares me. But besides that, I have no idea what I would do if I'd go to university. That is probably the main problem right now. Is that I don't know. It's like there's a lot of stuff that I would like to learn, but to commit to something for 3 whole years, I don't know where to start. That is a problem.
So
Uh,
just to clarify, this is a thing that you're in doubt, but are these inward questions, or do you think that the FA would be helpful, would be supportive if you did decide to apply and go either university or do another a professional training that doesn't necessarily need to be through a university degree? Do you think that there would be they would be open for you to do it?
I think so. I think so. I think that they would help me if they could. Uh, no problem at all. It's not something that I have talked about yet, but I think that they would be supportive of that in any way that they could. Thing
That's
right
great.
now,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, that's basically it.
Well, there is a concern, time management is everyone has to deal with that at a certain point in life, or always. And I mean, everyone understands, I think, what you're feeling, but I would also say that knowing what you want to do would be the starting point to taking that step further whenever and if ever you decide to go ahead. Um, Kieran, going back to your podcasts, we have let me know whenever you want to show this. We have a little clip of one of your conversations. How many episodes have you had
I
this far?
had 17 so far.
17. Many more than webinars. This is our episode 8, actually 9, but we're still numbered at 8. We had an extra one halfway through. Um, why your podcast, as I said, it focuses on physical and mental health. Um, especially now, I would say it's super relevant to discuss in the context of physical performance, or otherwise talking about mental health and mental performance and mental readiness to deal with the with competition or with the struggles in life that everyone has to deal with. Why this topic? You said you were interested in fitness. Why did this idea come about?
Well, there's a lot of layers to that question. But I guess I'll start with the want for physical fitness and how I got into that. For me, from a young age, I had a lot of things that I couldn't do through not having upper body strength and things like that. And with cerebral palsy, it was kind of throughout school not really encouraged to be part of things like PE and physical activity. So it was only really through football and sport that I got some sort of thing going there, and through playing wheelchair football, wheelchair football, I noticed that I would come and I wouldn't do so well because of feeling like I could do it. I felt like I could do it and could perform, but there was just always something missing from, I was always a bit too slow, or especially with cerebral palsy, your mind is affected by that and you're not as sharp as maybe you could be. So I noticed myself getting a bit overweight and feeling a bit kind of unfit when it came to game time and things like that, and noticing not really being able to do the things I would want to do. So after some kind of breakthrough moments in my life from school and going through bullying and things like that, after dealing with all that, I joined the gym and very quickly started to see some physical progress, as well as, but more importantly, like mental process and the way that I thought about things and the way that I was able to think faster as well. You just start to be able to react to things better, and you start to perform on the pitch. So, for example, when I started going to the gym a few years ago, in that space of time, I won more awards in 3 years for football than I had in the last 6 or 7 before that. And that's just a testament to, I believe very strongly that that's because of the fact I got into physical fitness, and it allowed me to perform at the level that I thought I could, and I'm just kind of getting started there. But for me, that was seeing. I could not only could I feel it, but actually seeing the difference in what the results were as well, and how I was playing, and also the effect it could have on other people. It was very eye-opening to me. But I hadn't really addressed some problems I had with how I felt with being in the chair as well, though. As much as I had improved physically, there were still some psychological, mental problems I had that I hadn't really been able to address. And fast forward to the football for a programme. When I came there with the idea of fitness being at the forefront of my mind somehow, in some way, once we came up with the podcast idea, obviously I'd been through a lot of different things, but the period of which, after the programme finished and I came back to Scotland, from there to when I actually started the podcast, which was in the summer, I went pretty quiet on the programme as a whole, and it was hard one to get a hold of, and it's mainly because I felt as though I was in a pretty good place and things like that, but really there was some things that I had to address in terms of how I felt with it being in the wheelchair, and different experiences I went through, maybe not entirely being honest with myself with those things. And with it was actually the whole pandemic kind of took a lot of things away from me in terms of going to football and meeting people and kind of being able to sort of just live your life and not really have to think about too many deep things, so to speak. And with all my distractions kind of taken away from me, I was kind of forced to address some things. And I came out of it with the idea that some of the things I was very harsh on myself with, which was like constantly try to spending my time helping people and encouraging people, but looking at that as a very negative thing, thinking it was just me needing people there and needing company all the time, and having a sort of twisted view of what I was trying to do in a very negative way because of my mental health and because of mental issues that I hadn't really addressed. So through all that process of having to deal with those things, I was able to realise that my main objective was wanting to help people and wanting to help raise awareness for disability and be able to show what we can do to the world rather than what we can't. So once I came to that conclusion, it allowed me to start the podcast, because once you're not once your ego is not the priority, it's more about helping other people, it becomes easier to wear a penguin costume on the live stream, so
So in the process, you help yourself at the
yeah,
same time,
exactly.
right? But yeah, I understand. Totally understand what you're saying. Maybe we could show the clip now, if that's okay with you. We'll just share a little short clip with one of the conversations that Kieran had with Matt. Well, he's known as Andy English, right?
Yeah.
As a wrestler. But let me just share here. Hopefully this will work. I always have some technical issues. Let's hope that doesn't happen today. Let me see. Here we go. Oop, there it is. You guys see this?
Nope.
No?
No.
Okay, let me see. Here.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now we're seeing a file. So no video yet.
Okay.
But that's better, I guess.
You're on the right clip though. If you just, I think if you just.
Yeah. Wait. Let me just. Can you see it now?
No.
I can see the clip. The clip is like there, but just not played yet.
Huh? Well, let me see if we can sort this out, and we'll get back to it. Sorry about that. Sometimes technology is not doesn't work 100%. Let me just try again, and then we'll move on. If I can't, and I'm apologies if we can't.
No, I've had these problems plenty of times. No, I don't want to do it. Don't want to do it.
Let me just see if I can get that. Sorry, guys. Just try another way, and hopefully this time it will work. Okay, one more time.
One more time.
I hope you can see the clip. Let me
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
Oh, we got it.
Okay, great.
Let's show.
Okay, here we go. Finally.
Can you hear that? I can't hear that.
We have no sound, I think.
Yeah, no sound.
Let's try. Sorry, Kieran. And
It's
everyone.
okay.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And it's wrestling, admittedly, is a tough because obviously it's extremely physical for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So certain disabilities do absolutely limit that part of that part of
Of
their
course.
programming. But I think it kind of leads to what you say, and it's funny because I have some actually very personal experience with a friend of mine who he's a cerebral palsy and he's in a wheelchair. And it's funny because before I even got I probably shouldn't even say that. Before I got properly trained, me and my buddy kind of did this little, very small kind of indie tryout show kind of thing here in the U.S. And my friend, who I was just telling you about, his name's Justin, told me about it. And so he came with us. We loaded up his van, which could fit his chair and everything. And he was my manager. And he put on a suit and he cut a promo and he had his automatic chair and my other friend was the heel manager and he rolled right in, knocked him off the apron when he was trying to interfere and it was crazy. But I'm this is the kind of their involvement is possible. A lot of people would have looked at him and be like, whoa, stay far away from the ring as you can, make sure they're very kid gloves and everything like that. But I'm look, he's confident. He can cut a hell of a promo. He's funny as hell. I'm so especially in all kinds of roles like that or creative roles, I think people with, even with disability and everything like that could be much more represented in wrestling.
Okay, now that we had the successful show of the video, Kieran, you've interviewed. This is interesting because you said that you're going to focus the podcast on physical and mental, you know, performance around sports and fitness. But actually, you've interviewed comedians, athletes, but not only coaches, etc. I believe you've broadened the scope of your conversations much more than what I expected initially. Um, why did you decide to, you know, to go? You had the Halloween episode that I was just talking about was with was with a comedian. Why do you think why did you decide to go, you know, to go with such a broad scope
Yeah.
of people? Did that help you in your process in any way?
Yeah, well, it's. I was at first. I was thinking it was going to be purely, like you said, to have sort of broadened my scale of who I would have on, and it was mainly because throughout that kind of experience of the pandemic, like I was mentioning before, one of the things that kind of came through to me was mental health and how mental health seems to be this thing. I don't think we speak about it very much in the proper way of actually talking about people's issues and things like that. So for me, it became apparent to me that it seemed no matter who I had on, even though they all had different backgrounds, different experiences, they all had the same sort of struggle in their life. And I realised that talking about that can be a very serious sort of thing, and it's hard for people to want to necessarily. If you're in that sort of space where you're struggling, you don't necessarily want to hear about it in a serious manner all the time. Um, And so it was more trying to figure out ways where I could break through to people and actually try to help them, and rather than just try to look like I'm trying to help them, but actually try to get through to people in a different way. So humour became one of those things where a few comedians were interested in coming on that I knew were funny, but I also knew they had a really good way of articulating what they'd been through and how they'd overcome those things. And so what it really started to become was showing that no matter where you come from, everyone has these issues, and there are different ways of going about it, different ways of getting through it. And whether you're funny or whether you're an athlete, you've still got things you need to deal with. And so it's trying to show that in a way that people can relate to, and it actually helps them better themselves.
Yeah. Now I would ask you this question and Tom as well. I mean, do you see yourself, the podcast, and Tom? Do you see the possibility of your own, you know, the company that you started becoming actually your, you know, your full-time job moving forward? Do you have any plans in that sense, or are you thinking about other things? Tom?
Just before you get started on that, Joe, do you mind just showing the pictures?
Yeah, of course.
I just forgot about that.
Then I hope this will work better than before. Let me see. Okay, yeah, here we go.
There's
Now
no
that we
sound.
now that we got the technology working.
Yeah, I hope you can see that.
Yeah, that's it. So this one's from February, I think. Yeah, this one's our last one. That was our first. That was our first one.
So you can see there indoors and outdoors. Sorry.
Can I just highlight? Go back one picture. No, I think it's.
This one?
No, I think it's a bit forward actually.
Okay, this one.
This one. So I just want to highlight this picture because this, for me, kind of is why I started. Like the holiday camps, because for me, seeing that picture and seeing them both smile, that to me just meant so much. And also, these opportunities to me would have not been there without me coming in and starting it up. You know, I think. I mean, they're both really nice people. I mean, Thomas, the one in the Watford show, the yellow one's been there since the start. And they're both really, really nice guys. And I just think, just without, there would be no opportunities for them without starting it up. So yeah, that's kind of, when I saw that picture, I was like, yeah, that's why I started it up.
Tom, just tell everyone where you are and what age groups do you take in for the camps?
Okay, so this is in a town called Hemel Hempstead. I mean, I don't expect anyone to know where that is. Just to give a rough idea, it's probably just north of London, about 20, 25 miles from central London. I mean, we do groups, I think I go from 6 to 16. So mainly school age. Again, yeah, they're just for anyone with additional needs. Your days are 10 till 3, so it's not all day, but it's enough for them for me to come and enjoy and learn new skills and make new friends.
That's great. So it's a pan disability, football camp, and you run it in partnership with you mentioned already another company that I suppose helped you set up, help your setup to make it easier for you to have access to like infrastructure, training camps, training grounds, sorry, and access to equipment, I imagine.
Well, I mean, equipment I got myself, but in terms of facilities, yeah, they were great. I mean, Jordan, who runs it, gave me this room for free, no charge. He lets me use part of the Astro and also the hall. And in one of those pictures, actually, I think if you go back one, he even came down to, yeah, this one, if you see, he's the one in goal here. He even came down to join in, which was, I thought was brilliant. So it's nice to have his support.
Yeah.
Alongside, just before COVID as well, actually, I actually managed to secure a different venue. I mean, whether that goes ahead afterwards, I'm not sure, but I hope so. So actually, I've managed to find another venue about 20 minutes away from this venue, which is also great. So we can find other people from that area as well. So I'm looking forward to hopefully when everything starts back again to go and work over there as well.
Yeah, hopefully we have this discussion ourselves when we come back with with physical in-person training. Even if we have to make some changes, it's better to at least do something when it's safe to do so than than just do what we had to do this year, which is great, which allows for us to have this conversation. But at the same time, we're very eager to start having personal contact when it becomes safe for that. Do you want me to share anything else, or can I?
Have you got any other pictures?
I have the video. Yeah, I have
oh yeah,
video.
if you.
Let me see here.
I think this one is, yeah. So you just, but I think, yeah, he's having another go after.
Yeah.
He missed the first shot, so I was like, no, you've got to go. You're getting it in that goal. The attempts it takes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's what we have. Okay.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, great stuff.
What you asked me originally.
Yeah.
At the moment, obviously, I've just started at university, so I'm not sure, especially with COVID, whether I can make it a full-time job at the moment. But I'm kind of aiming for it, and that's what I'm aiming for. I mean, I'm going to see where the next years take me, and even I mean, I'm going to aim to try and get into schools and offer schools some work there as well. Yeah, but mainly just see where it takes me.
Yeah, that's the way to go. We've had a common theme also throughout these talks, which is basically realizing and sharing that, as you guys know, the disabled population is the biggest minority. of any minority, even though it's diverse in itself. Um, it is roughly 1/5 of the global population. So one of the things that we've heard, constantly, as I said before, is that employing disabled people is absolutely essential to work towards a more inclusive and more representative society in terms of disabled people. And there is power in the numbers. So these it should be above 1 billion people that around the globe has some sort of disability. I would like to have a little bit of your thoughts on this. And since there is at the moment a certain atmosphere, it started with Me Too maybe, and now it's Black Lives Matters, and moving the conversation towards the need to have more diverse and inclusive communities, and making sure that fundamental rights are respected and everyone is included. Do you think that there's something missing here? Should we be organizing, and be louder? And what's your view on this? Should we, catch that train, and push for the need to, to absolutely have companies and public entities have inclusive disability inclusive employment strategies, push for better accessibility, because if you don't have access to, to physical spaces, you can't get there and you can't live a normal life. I would like to have a little bit of your guys' views on this issue. And even last week, this was a big topic of conversation here on the webinar. Eduardo, would you like to say anything about this?
So it's not an easy. There is no easy solution, of course. So I think that the most important thing is make disabled people realize their worth and their value. That's for me. That's the most important thing. So educating people to the fact that they can be useful, and they sometimes the biggest problem is their own our own view of ourselves and our worth. So if people realize that they can help, they can be of value to others, that is for me the most important thing. uh, as to what you were saying about being louder, I think that is essential if if it's done in a proper way, in an organized way. But to organize such a big and diverse group, that is a proper challenge, because how would you go about organizing so many different nationalities, cultures? It's something that should be done, uh, but I reckon it's not easy. But yeah, sure, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Well, you are in a way involved in that. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that you are working with other fellow classmates to set up an alumni group that is going to work essentially on also organizing people that come out of the program, to, many initiatives, I hope. So that's a way. Kieran's podcast is also a way to, to change perceptions, and maybe, start changing everyone's minds, not only disabled people, as you said, Eduardo, which is essential for you to have that confidence, but also other people around that of course there's a contribution to society, and we should be moving quicker towards the social model where everyone has a part to play. um, Kieran, your thoughts on this topic?
This is obviously quite a big topic and a big part of the reason why I do the podcast, to be honest. I think that when I was talking earlier about how I brought in comedy and things like that to try and figure out different ways of actually getting through to people and not just. It's very easy to look like you're trying to make a difference without actually knowing, with well knowing that it's not really going to move the needle. And I think a lot of organisations and companies have this thing where they have a maybe, for the way to put it, like a list of boxes to tick, and don't necessarily look at what can actually make the difference. When you look at the, like you say, lack of representation throughout the world, pretty much, and how well we're a society that preaches about equality and opportunity, a lot of doors are still shut for disabled people. And part of the podcast for me, one of my biggest goals throughout it, because the guy that you just showed there, Matt, who works in WWE, which is obviously a big mainstream organisation, he talked about their employment rate of disabled people is next to nothing, as well as a lot of mainstream organisations. So for me, it's actually about the way of doing it and showing is having people that are from these mainstream organisations. I've had on different athletes, like I had an Australian professional boxer, and we've had all sorts of different mainstream athletes, with the point of it being that there's so many podcasts in the world, right? But there's very few of them where you see actual an integration of disabled athletes and mainstream athletes. And what I think the goal from that really is to show that with and without the disability, a lot of the journey, a lot of the experiences, a lot of the challenges are very much similar. And it's showing disability as on like an actual human level, and looking at the fact that disability, I think this is something that a lot of people need to recognise, is that there was a guest I had on, Mick Scarlett, who spoke about this in a way that struck me when he said that it's not necessarily like, there seems to be this idea of, well, the time that I've been in a wheelchair my whole life, what I noticed was this idea of you have to change it. In my head, it was like this idea of I had to have the ability to walk. It's as if I'm not complete until I'm able to walk, or you're not. This idea from mainstream media and things like that with a disability you're not normal, or you're not part of mainstream society, which I think is something that we fundamentally need to change, because it's not necessarily up to us to change a disability in which we can't ever really. It's not up to us whether we can fix it or not. It's up to the world to adapt to that and make it a more equal world where we all have the fair opportunities, which I still think is a big issue.
Totally agree. I mean, we've been having these conversations, and the fact is that the world needs to adapt, and we don't need to change people. We need to adapt to make sure that everyone has, everyone has actually equal opportunity and equal access to education, to employment, to Joyce Cook last week said that, and I think that's a perfect expression, that you can live a spontaneous life. You don't need to plan ahead, like single step, every single place where you go, you need to plan ahead, because you don't know whether you're going to be able to even reach that. So when you're able to have a spontaneous life, then that. And Jess also used this. Jess Mark also used this expression last week of effortless inclusion. So when you don't need to think about it for it to exist. Well, that would be great. That would mean that we didn't have a job to do. And that's the ideal world. We're running out of time, and I wanted to, before going through final rounds and going back to Tom to also give you the chance to talk about this, I just want to include as well here, share the poll results here. Let me see.
The second one should have all of the above, because it's like.
Yeah, that's true. But that would then be the only answer.
Yeah, that's true.
So the only right answer. So we see here. Can everyone see this? Can you see the
Mm,
results?
no, I don't think
No,
so.
I can't see.
Okay,
Oh, here
hopefully
we go.
now. There
Yeah.
we go. So so maybe we'll have a few more participants next year coming out of this webinar. And interesting answers here. I have to be honest, these questions were more for us than because we also want to know what people are thinking out there, and in developing these the program, knowing what's relevant for people who are thinking about applying, people who are working in this field. So basically everything. Uh, but 82% personal development. So I think this touches upon things that you guys were mentioning right just now about our contribution to hopefully to empowering people, to to realize their dream, to work in sport, to live a more active life, um, and have a role in society. Um, we hope to be able to do that a little bit through the program, and I'm sure that anyone interested can reach out to any of you guys, to learn more about your experience and how it was. Um, before going, I wanted to to do another round, starting with you, Tom, and with just also sharing your final remarks around this conversation. I know time was really short, but we'll have more chances to talk in the future for sure. So any final thoughts, Tom, please?
I mean, I'm just going to bring up why I think people should go on the Football for All program. I mean, for me, obviously, like I said to you guys before, it was one of the best experiences of my life. I mean, I think I mean, I learned so much, and it helped me so much, I mean, I think when I was growing up, I've always thought, um, I've always wanted to have a business. I mean, I know I haven't started Apple or something like that. It's just a little one. But to me, by going on the program, it actually turned a dream into a reality. And I mean, so that's why I'm always thankful for the opportunity to come and spend those 2 weeks, both to Joana and Jose as well, and also to everybody that I got to share the experience with. So yeah, I mean, I would 100% recommend the program to anyone who's listening that hasn't been on before, is thinking about doing it. And also, thank you for having me on today to talk through my experiences and about INjoy sport.
Cheers, Tom. Thank you so much for being on the conversation today. I see you guys chatting away as well with Marco and Marcus and so on. So this really warms us inside to know that that you're all out there and you're have friendships resulting from the program. Eduardo, I would shoot it next to you.
Yeah, I go the same way as Tom. If you have the opportunity, go for it like 100%, because it's totally worth it. Just for the time that you spend with other people, it's awesome. If you don't have the possibility to go though, I think that right now is the best time for anyone to do anything, because the power that we have just using our phone, the reach that we have, if you really set your mind to it, I think that you can do anything that if you're motivated to do it. So go to the program if you can. If you can't, don't think too much of it, and try to do your own thing. Try to talk to people. Just reach out to people, and most people will help you out. And thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Eduardo. Always a pleasure. Kieran, you usually ask the questions, but
Yeah.
today you answered some questions, so thanks for coming on. Your final thoughts.
It has been different for sure. I just want to touch on what was said there, and I said about personal development. Personal development. We've actually had an episode dedicated specifically for personal development and how helpful that is. But one thing I would stress is throughout the actual Football for All program, we've been on it, has a lot of personal development in and of itself without actually being a specific topic. And my best example of this would be going to Portugal. I ended up going there myself through some tricky circumstances in personal life, but ended up going there myself, and it was the first time I travelled anywhere on my own, which ended up being probably one of the biggest things I could take away from it. Was there was a lot of things I went there scared about and not thinking I could do them, and it's amazing the things you can do when you have to do them. The first couple of days, I was getting up early. I got up 2 hours before the class would start so I could get myself ready and have plenty of time. And the first couple of days was a big struggle for me because I wasn't used to that kind of routine or having to do all these things myself. And by the end of the week, I found myself totally on the ball. It was dead easy for me. A lot of things that I thought were impossible, I was doing without even a second thought of it. So that in itself was a lot of personal development for me, without it actually being a specific topic, but also came out of it realising with the discussions of our peers and stuff like that, and learning things from them, that how important that kind of topic is, and how much it goes back to what Eduardo said about how if you have a disability, you're kind of discouraged from putting yourself out there and showing yourself for who you are. And I think that personal development can play a big part in building that self-belief and confidence that you can go out there and make a difference and use that reach that Eduardo speaks about. So I think that the Football for All course can change your life if you decide to take part in it, but also the community and learning more about yourself and what you actually are capable of doing was a big eye-opening thing for me, and I really appreciate being invited to be on here because there was so many amazing projects and participants that you could have asked. So it was an honour to be asked to be on.
Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, the three of you guys. Next session, we'll have to have someone from also from a different gender to make sure that we have a more balanced and diverse class moving forward as well. But it was great to have you guys here. I know that for sure that we'll have more conversations all together, and I hope that we can meet face to face in the near future, all of us. And those who will join us hopefully in 2021 for the Football for All Leadership program. I can tell you, myself and Jose, who's sitting on the far end of the room where I am, we're just smiles, and we're super happy to be in touch with you guys again. It was, I guarantee you, it's as much as a learning experience for you guys as it is for us. And we are also honored to have you here speaking to us and giving your time to share with everyone your experiences. So thank you so much to Eduardo, Kieran, and Tom. And we want to keep knowing about what you guys are doing, and knowing that you're also in your own way pushing for things to improve, and for perceptions to change around different levels of ability. So thank you so much. Before closing the session, we wanted to tell everyone that we have a very special day coming up on Thursday, December 3rd, International Disability Day. We decided to, because nine webinars weren't enough, we decided to have an additional 3 all on the same day. So we have 3 sessions on Thursday, starting with another 2018 classmates who will be doing basically a conversation. Elena Popova from Russia, who is the class of 2018, as I said, will be discussing perspectives on disability, a talk between a disabled fan and a professional football player. So Elena will be having a conversation with Alexei Smertin, who is now a Russian Football Union official and former player. As most of you would know, they will be discussing around these topics around at 4 p.m. Central European time. Then at 5:30 p.m. Central European time, we'll have a webinar on the road to Tokyo, conversation with 3 Paralympians, well, 2 Paralympians and one athlete who is aspiring for a gold medal in Tokyo next summer. So Jose, who will be moderating that session, and he will talk to Gaël Riviere, who's a blind football player from France and a silver medalist from London 2012. Moran Samuel, who is a para rower from Israel and a Rio bronze medalist. And Daniel Chan, who's a para badminton player, and he's the one who's chasing a gold medal in Tokyo, and he'll be representing Hong Kong as the current number 2 in the world. And finally, at 7 p.m. Central European time, we'll have a conversation with foundations in football and the work they're doing on promoting the right way to improve access and inclusion. And we will have Diego Garcia Diego from Getafe Fundación, Nuno Costa from Fundação Benfica, Rachel Lomax from Everton FC, and Wim Billard, I'm sure I said this wrong, from the Ghent Foundation. And this conversation will be moderated by CAFE's DAO project manager, Jochen Kemmer. So we'll have 3 sessions on different topics for all tastes this Thursday afternoon to celebrate World Disability Day and keep pushing to have these reflections while we're in lockdown. And hopefully when we come out of it, have a lot of ideas and energy to keep changing things. Again, thank you everyone, our alumni on the panel and everyone who joined to listen in. It was a pleasure to have you all, and we hope to see you very soon. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you.